Get direction, Mr. Donald Trump. Person. What are you doing? Why do you call me person? Why do you say person twice? Doesn't make sense. Because that's what I call you, Mr. Donald Trump. Person.
All right, then.
I directly ripped that off from
Right.
Dana Carvey, but it's still funny.
And welcome to the Something Random podcast, where sometimes we talk about movies, sometimes we talk about television, but we always talk about something random. I am your host, Charles Joseph Kelly.
Oh, hey there. I'm your co-host, Michael C. Macbeth.
How you doing? I'm Joel Adam Chavez. I run the country.
Oh, and with us, unfortunately,
You're not legally allowed to say, unfortunately.
shit, you're right. Legally, do I have to say your full name, or how do we have to handle this situation?
Middle initial.
Middle initial? All right. So legally, we have to announce that Karl W. Pfeiffer is here with us today. We, by law, have to have him on the podcast this week, and I am going to read a little bit from the court ruling here, which it's a legal thing. Karl Pfeiffer is allowed to 20% of all jokes on this week's episode, and hereby will be known as the King of Podcasts. That's what you wanted to be called?
That's my lawyer.
That's your lawyer?
He's my lawyer.
Okay.
He threw some stuff in.
All right, but Karl, it's been a while. It's been a
been a
minute.
while.
It's been a minute.
He's actually been here the whole time. I just turned him up for the first time.
Thank you for finally turning up my volume. I had some killer one-liners about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so anytime you heard those really silent moments and then sudden laughter, we legally weren't in a place where we could use his voice.
But he's here now.
Yeah, if you haven't listened to previous episodes, Karl, Michael, and I used to host the show together. Karl has taken a sabbatical, and he's back on.
It was a forced sabbatical because you guys got Tom Hanks on the show, and apparently that's cooler to have on the show.
Oh!
Yeah, it's pretty much a much better situation. And I'm not gonna step down. I mean, come on, seriously. Let's be real.
In all
Okay.
fairness, just so you're aware, we turn Tom Hanks' mic down quite often. Because,
I can imagine.
It's the same situation for you.
Yeah.
Well, that we just have to pay royalties on.
Right.
You know, that's the issue.
Isn't that right, Tom? Yes!
Oh, that's how this week's gonna go. So, hey guys, what have you been watching this week? Karl, let's start with you.
Oh, my God. So I just got back from 2 weeks out in Kentucky area shooting a documentary. And one of my first real, dive-in deep documentary projects. So I've been, binging documentaries just to get my headspace right. But the most recent one I watched was called Icarus on Netflix.
Okay, what is this? I've never heard of this.
Right. It's this documentary about this dude, this bicyclist in Boulder who, starts trying to juice, as some experiment for a year, looking at, all that... Tour de France, Lance Armstrong stuff, and he gets put in touch with this scientist from Russia who's an expert at juicing athletes, and
Okay.
this whole thing just unspools with this giant investigation into Russia and their athletes and how everyone is doping and this huge scandal. And this dude winds up making friends with the documentary guy and coming to America as everything is hitting the fan.
What?
It is this crazy
That's a lot.
political
And it's called
intrigue.
Icarus?
It's called Icarus. It's got kind of a Russian looking style art with Putin on the front on the cover. It's
How
a ride.
interesting.
It's a ride.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I watched that one in a couple of viewings, given my schedule. And then I just finished The Keepers on Netflix too, which is another one of the true crime docuseries, kind of
Yes.
making a murder follow-up sort of stylistic thing.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna talk. We're gonna
might
talk
have to
about
check
Michael's
that
here in a second, and I really want to know if you've watched that one. Michael, what have you been watching? This week?
I, among other things, I've been watching American Vandal as per my losing a bet last week.
That was a you lost a bet, so you had to watch American Vandal.
Well, yeah, so we've decided
I wanna
to
lose
put
some bets.
right.
Yeah.
We decided to put a little more of a positive spin on the 6 Degrees game, where we're not doing punishment movies per se. We're just
Not really losing the bet, just...
exactly. So
Because-
everyone's
yeah.
a winner because we're all millennials. So why
Right.
not? Participation trophy.
Can we
You
not?
guys are millennials.
Can we not? Can we just not?
All right, fine.
Can we not?
So
Thank
American Vandal. Yeah, have you seen that, Karl?
No, I am very curious. Very curious.
It is a freaking riot, and what I love about this show is that it's such a prime example of comedy that takes itself seriously. The fact that it takes itself so seriously is what makes it funny. And it's not slapsticky, it's not farcical, it's not absurd like I don't even know, like The Office, for instance. I mean, great show, I love it, but the jokes are very
jokey.
Yeah. And this one, it's just
The Office is funny because it knows it's funny.
Exactly.
American Vandal is funny because it's totally operating under the guise that it's not.
So there's an entire episode to where they're trying to disprove one of the guys in American Vandal who's like the one
key witness.
Yeah, the key witness who saw the crime. They're trying to disprove him, so they go back to a summer camp, right? And they're trying to prove that he lied about getting a hand job from some girl,
and so they do a sleek CGI thing where they make a 3D model of the doc, and it's like mechanical hand job happening, and then they zoom out and try to figure out if anyone could have witnessed it and what the sight lines look like.
So you just like see the hand job happening from like 7 different angles. It's so funny.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Oh,
it is absolutely genius.
How far into the show are you?
I think I just finished episode 3 and started episode 4, so I'm about halfway.
It's the other thing that I hit home on the other day is that it's hilarious, and it has these really it's fantastic in its comedy, but when it gets down to really serious conversations about I don't want to spoil things for Michael because he's getting there, but they really hone in on the serious aspects of things too. And I'll say this again, and I'll say this until the end of time: this show has no right in being as good as it is. It's fantastic. I highly recommend it to anybody who loves the true crime genre, anybody who loves good comedy.
And they even made very good steps to make it appear to be a poor quality high school student made documentary.
Okay.
Like they some of the choices for audio or
I see kind of like, yes, I see that they hone in on that, but the fact that there's like a lot of shots that are much better than any high schooler could ever have done, and that's where a lot of the comedy comes from. They do these like gorgeous like pulling back shots that apparently he filmed himself on this like tiny little camera,
or maybe he just
great.
Got stock footage because the school had it or something.
Yeah,
Who
that's
knows?
true.
Yeah, but yeah, it was good in that way as well, and they did a whole lot of moments where it's like, no, don't look at the camera, look at me, and
Karl, you need to watch this show.
I plan to.
Michael, what else have you been watching?
I watched Kingsman: The Golden Circle yesterday in theaters.
I can't think of any other movie I've seen more trailers for.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate that it's so saturated with trailers because I knew the premise.
And they only really had like 2 trailers that I remember seeing, but they had that movie running, that trailer running in front of everything for like the last 6 months.
Yeah, and as far as sequels go, it was well made, and they committed still to the style, and they basically introduced the American counterpart of the Kingsman organization, the Statesman, and it's a distillery, and so they're all named after different liquors.
I love it.
Yeah, and it's,
I'm the Peach Schnapps. Hi, my name is Peach Schnapps. How are you doing today, guys?
I want to be Agent Peach Schnapps. That'd be awesome. Jeff Bridges plays Champagne, but he goes by Champ.
Okay,
It's just clever.
That was very clever.
Because it's based on a graphic novel, right?
Is it? I didn't know that.
I think so.
Hi
Yeah.
guys, I'm Apple Pucker.
God.
I'm Strawberry Boone's Farm.
Hey guys, I'm Goldschlager.
Ooh,
That's actually a good one.
Joel.
Well, it started this week, the Law and Order Menendez brother miniseries.
Law and Order.
Law and Order, sorry. Law and
Created
Order.
by Dick Wolf.
Yes, Dick Wolf, your favorite person.
Boom boom.
cousin of Peter Coyote from E.T. But no, it was great. Good acting. The guy looks just like the wig that he wears. The main brother, I can't remember if it's Lyle or Eric, which one it is, but it looks like a wig put on backwards, but it looks just like his hair. So I don't know. Anyway, I'm looking forward to that. I also watched. Have any of you watched? Any of you watch season 1 of Great News?
I have not heard of this.
It's a really funny show. It's a sitcom, and it's about people that run a news station. And they're kind of pulling, and It's Always Sunny, because they had a great first season. It was really funny. Season 2 just started, and now they have Tina Fey on.
This is the show with not Paris Hilton, but the other one. Who's on
Nicole
it?
Richie.
Nicole Richie is on the show. I've heard of this, and apparently it's really good.
It's hilarious. It is.
Because it's
really funny.
It's like written by Tina Fey has something to do with it.
Tina Fey is on the show now,
Yeah.
and she's writing. I don't know if she's the head writer, but she probably is because she's a great head writer. But
Yeah.
she's like the boss of the news station. What was that?
Michael's like,
Yeah.
I have nothing to add to this conversation, so I'll just add a random.
I
yeah.
love Tina Fey. That's all.
You guys should check it out for sure. I
I'm
mean,
done.
watching season 1 would help, but you don't have to. Like, you could have tuned in to this first episode and you've been very entertained. It was great.
The only things that I've had time to watch are comedy specials. I watched Jerry Seinfeld's new one.
What
He did
is
one.
the deal
What was
with
that?
podcasts?
It was good. It's so nostalgic for him because
What was the deal with comedians coming back and doing Netflix specials?
Oh my god! Look at this! I can't do
Whole
it.
team.
No, that's not gonna happen. I was doing it pretty well last night, and then I've lost it. I lost the magic.
I don't even really have a Jerry Seinfeld either. It's just that.
What's the deal? But anyways, it was very nostalgic for him because he was performing in the small theater that he used to perform in. When
Oh, wow.
He was, like, in his
Yeah,
20s.
I heard that.
When he was in his 20s, and then he
Yeah.
would like go around town, and there would cut to segments of him talking about how he got into comedy and stuff like this. So not only is it like the comedy, which is funny, it's Jerry Seinfeld. It's gonna be funny, but it's also like really nostalgic and really interesting to learn that there was nothing else for him. Like, he was always funny, and he's just like, that's all I had was just.
It looked
being
like
funny.
they went more of that direction with
Yeah.
it. Did they intercut it, like
Yeah.
alluding to Seinfeld in a certain sense?
Yeah,
with the
they
comedy
got
and the-
it's called like life before Seinfeld,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all up to that point. But it was so interesting to see how he came about that. Netflix released the 25-year anniversary of Def Comedy Jam, which I don't know if you guys ever watched Def Comedy Jam, and it's just like all these, the classic Def Comedy Jam people coming together to look back on their careers and to pay homage to the people who passed away. Bernie Mac was so cool to see that these people were able to overcome and be able to tell their truth in comedy was just awesome. And I highly recommend it. It's great.
You will
It's-
definitely not do nose laughing with Def Comedy Jam.
challenge accepted.
Yeah.
You
It's-
either laugh or you don't get it.
Yeah, if you don't get it, I mean, there's some world lessons there that maybe you should experience. But besides from that, I mean, I've been watching our short film over and over and over and over and over again. Now that it's out, I haven't watched it once, but
I watched it. Seth and Jillian and I sat and watched it, and it was very good. We liked it.
yeah.
But we'll get to that.
So we're gonna do something a little different this month because it's the spooky scary month.
Spooky, scary month.
And once a week, we're going to have our guests or one of our hosts tell a spooky, scary story. So this week, if you don't know Karl, tell the audience a little bit about yourself and then jump into your spooky, scary story.
So yeah, I'm Karl. Obviously, I'm a photographer. I'm a videographer. That's why I get along so with these fools.
So can I say that one of my
spend
favorite
time.
jokes is when people name their businesses after themselves.
Oh yeah.
And
It's
then
the best.
Followed by your other favorite joke, which is where someone names their business a random You could say something random name.
Yeah, but so when you this is what I'm going to
So I
tell
really
my
wanna know
audience.
what we're supposed to name
to like cut into you explaining who you are. Whenever I see Karl, if I run into him, at the store or in Virginia, wherever I run
airport.
into him, because that happens. Wherever I run into him, I'm like, oh my God, Karl Pfeiffer of Karl Pfeiffer Photography. And
You're that Karl Pfeiffer?
so if you at home, our listeners at home, have friends who have named their businesses after themselves, you are very welcome to use that joke. It's wonderful. I highly recommend it. It is so choice.
I keep thinking I have probably a dozen people in my head right now that do that.
And our
So I'm
friend
gonna pass
Faith
that on.
Ford never enjoys that joke, but we still do it anyways.
Yeah, that's
Well,
great.
you do that for the people that named it after themselves. But like I said, then there's the something random, the name of your media company, is making fun of the other ones. And I'm like, what's left?
Yeah.
What do you name your business?
Yeah, we went to the far other extreme for sure.
Yeah.
There's a middle ground between something random and your name. So
There
is it
is,
like
like,
Karl?
We have a camera productions.
I was going to call my company I Paint Stuff.
Oh my gosh.
We have
I
a
would
camera and a
dig
name.
that.
People work for us by name. But yeah, no. So I run my own business called Karl Pfeiffer Photography. I appeared on a television show many moons ago called Ghost Hunters Academy. I'm a paranormal researcher, and that's basically me in a nutshell. Scary stories,
Yeah.
spooky stories month.
Well, I
You must
can
have some
only
really-
assume that hunting ghosts, you've come across a thing or two that's
But it doesn't. Okay, so
spooky,
here's.
scary.
We've talked about this before about how whenever Karl's on podcasts, everybody's like, "Tell us about the ghost things."
I want to hear about
What
ghosts.
happened in the Stanley?
What
Well, to be
happened?
fair, those are the podcasts I frequent.
Yeah, right. So you are very welcome to tell a ghost story if you want. If you want to do something completely out of left field, if you want to tell us a story about how it was really scary when Dunkin' Donuts didn't give you the creamer that you asked for, the
yeah,
pumpkin pie
yeah.
creamer that you asked for, I would be down for that story as well.
Or stories of scary people going, tell us about this. No.
That's more annoying stories.
So I've got one here. I'll let you guys try to figure it out as it develops.
Okay.
All right.
This was 2010, June 2010. I was going out to the West Coast on a little road trip with my girlfriend at the time, Kelly. And we'd driven about 13 hours or something the first day. And we found this rest stop in Nevada.
Okay.
And she's from her dad. Her dad's got like this pickup truck that's covered in the back, and so there's like a mattress back there that fits perfectly. So we're like, sweet, save on hotel costs, just crash in the back of the truck at rest stops. And we pull into this rest stop. We're hanging out. We're eating some food. Towards the end of the day, rest stops like get a lot less busy and a lot more. And so there's, we become suspicious. There's this kind of like semi-sketchy dude like who makes hot dogs at the rest stop on like a little like grill in the back of his truck. Hot wieners at the rest
We have to
stop.
do it like more sinister. Hot wieners here. I've got some wieners for you.
The more sinister you go with it, the more it goes another direction too.
Yep.
Hot wieners. So he's like selling these like hot dogs for like $3 or something, and we're like, no, we're good. We got sandwiches. And then he like comes back by a little while later because there's nobody there, and he's like, discounted, like you can have like 3 for $1. And we're like, no, like you're poisoning us or something. So we've got this dude in our head, and like watch something and start going to bed. And like right as we get to that point of just like almost asleep, we are awakened by the sound of a blood-curdling woman's scream. It sounds like there's somebody being stabbed to death in the parking lot. There's like, we sit up immediately, and there's a big old like camper trailer like right on the other side of the parking lot. And so we like sit up and then instantly have that thought of just like, no, get down. Like we'll be seen here. We're about to get murdered. And I was fully waiting to just see like some woman bust out of that, just like stabbed up like a horror movie.
Oh, my God.
And as it kind of went on for another minute or so, our attention got turned to a little bit further down where there was a giant trailer of pigs. Apparently, there was a bunch of pigs in the back of this steel trailer.
Okay.
And if you guys have ever heard the sound of like pigs screaming,
Oh, God, no.
it is the most like terrifying and human sounding sound that a creature could make.
So why were they screaming?
Just because they're pigs and animals do stuff. Probably because they're in the back of a steel truck going to slaughter or something like that, and they're having an existential crisis.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so like they're 11 o'clock at night and rest stop in Nevada with the sound of pigs screaming.
The guy wasn't making hot dogs, was he? Is that what it was? That's
He
what I
was
thought you
making
were going to
pork hot
say.
dogs.
Was he was slaughtering the pigs for?
I mean, I don't know if somebody was slaughtering the pigs, maybe, but on the whole, they were just.
It sounded like a woman's.
They were just getting wound up and riled up or something at
They
that
pick
hour.
a dark rest stop at night to slaughter their pigs for their hot
Hey, you never
dogs.
know. He's selling hot dogs.
That's
there.
true. That's true.
Homemade, from scratch at the rest stops in Nevada. So probably one of the more terrifying moments of my entire life. Sketched out rest stop in Nevada.
That's great. I love that story.
Freaky.
I'm gonna have weird nightmares or like really sexy nightmares tonight.
About screaming pigs.
Hot
Wieners.
wieners.
This has been Spooky Scary Stories Month. Yes.
Are you a theremin
Let's
now?
get a theremin for the rest of this. Have Joel lay down some audio for the future stories intros.
Do you remember those Halloween decorations that shake? That you would shake and
Oh,
go.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was perfect.
was
That
really
was
good.
gorgeous.
Thank you. I've been working on that. No.
Did
This
you go in to
entire-
record that and then they
This-
put it in the mics?
This entire podcast this week was up to this moment. He's like, I need us to get to this moment where I can do
So I can make a
this.
Halloween.
So I can make the spooky,
Noise.
scary Halloween noise that everybody remembers, the nostalgic, spooky, scary noise.
Every night you're just standing on your porch practicing.
Just saying.
This is going to be great next week on the podcast.
I've been thinking about this
spooky,
since
scary
June.
month.
I can't wait till October.
Okay,
The neighbors
so,
are like, shut the hell up. And you're like, it's October, damn it.
No, they
So-
already called the cops on him for doing it.
is
Gilbert
that
Gottfried.
is that like ghosting that would hang? Was that just like some guy doing that? There's like, and then just on repeat, or was it like a noise that was built into the machine?
Sounds
It
more
was a
tonal,
noise.
like a noise.
Yeah.
like those cow things that you turn over? Like,
Yeah.
What's the guy's name who does all the sound effects?
Michael Winslow?
Yeah, we're gonna have him on the podcast next week
ooh, that would be
for
wonderful.
the spooky, scary sound effect episode.
Beep boop bop boop beep boop boop. Let me just call. Let me get him on the phone. Hold on.
Double ringtone.
Hi, Michael. It's Joel calling from Something Random. Yeah, this is Joel. Hi, Joel. This is Michael on the phone.
Did,
Well, I
he,
gotta go because we're recording.
did he just say okay bye and hang up on you?
Yeah. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Okay, let's.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was good.
Had
what-
a little bit of everything.
I've got a question for you guys.
Okay.
Since we're in October, it is the spooky, scary
Octubre.
month. What
Spooky Scary Month.
is your go-to?
We need a theme
Can we
play
get a
behind
drop
that.
of Karl doing that? Just saying "spooky scary month," and like when we push a button,
Spooky.
he just says,
Ooh, yes. I'll put it on my
And
soundboard.
it's like a
Ready?
little bit of a tone
It's like the
behind
Staples
it.
easy button.
We'll have
Yeah.
we'll have like a remix version where it's like spoo, spoo,
Yeah.
spooky, scary, spoo,
and I'll go,
Yes. And it's like a trademark
That's-
sort of thing. Every time you say so for Spooky Scary Month, I just jump in with
That's what we should do instead of making a movie. We should make a remix song.
So we can do something called Making a Murderer, where we actually become murderers. That would be scary.
And we get some pig screaming sound effects. And
yeah. Or we could do the goat scream. Where it's actually you definitely like a human screaming that they just like dubbed over it.
What you did just now sounded like that. What was that senator's name? The guy campaigning. We're gonna take Washington and Seattle, and Carolina. Yeah, but I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
All right. What was your question again?
we got a little sidetrack.
What is your go-to Halloween movie every year?
Just
easy.
one?
Easy. I mean, I have a list, but
I think I know Carl's.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I know Carl's.
it's my second favorite movie of all time.
Yeah.
Which is
Trick or Treat.
Trick or Treat. You know, I haven't seen it.
I'm looking at your movie case right behind you right now.
Yeah.
And I'm so sad that Trick or Treat isn't on it because
Well-
it's like all horror movies.
I know, and I was talking to my friend Nikki about this just a few weeks, or actually just this past week, because we decorated her house for Halloween, and she's got a trick or treat kid with the big orange head.
Sam, yeah.
And she said this last year. She's like, "It's from Trick or Treat. Don't you seen? Don't you know Trick or Treat?" And I was like, "No, I haven't seen it." And she's like, "You got to go watch it." And then this year, when I hadn't watched it again, she was like, "What are you doing with your life?" So I need to watch it this week.
Seriously, can we force Elizabeth to
working.
watch it right now?
No, I'll watch.
That's
it.
gonna happen.
I'm gonna watch
That's
it.
gonna happen in our 6 degrees this week.
I'll watch it tonight.
We need to make sure that we win, so that Joel has to watch Trick or Treat.
I'm already gonna
Excellent.
watch it, so you should pick something else. So Trick or Treat.
Yes.
Brilliant.
As you may or may not know, I am not a huge fan of the horror genre.
Okay.
I take things way to heart, and it affects me for a very, very long time. So I would have to say that my go-to October movie would be Hocus Pocus.
Oh man, I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I thought you
Yeah.
were signing up for The Great Pumpkin.
Oh, that would have been good too.
Pumpkin's good
It's the
too.
Great
But I can
Pumpkin,
see
Charlie
Hocus
Brown.
Pocus now that you say that.
Hocus Pocus, I love it. I could watch it every day of the
Oh,
year.
absolutely.
And I
does
sometimes
not have to be Halloween.
Yeah, that's one of my go-tos as well. Did you see our Halloween costumes a couple years ago? It was me and Jolynn and Anne.
Did, and that was brilliant.
I was Winifred,
almost as
Jolynn
brilliant
was Mary,
as your dance
and Anne
mom's
was-
outfits.
Yeah, we did Dance Moms one year too.
Anyway,
I
so
always end up playing a woman when Jolynn, Anne, and I dress up.
like you do.
Okay.
Joel?
I have a couple go-tos, but specifically Halloween time. Gosh, there's so many. I mean, I like Hocus Pocus as well, but this week actually, I've been rewatching the not just Psycho, but the whole Psycho series. There's actually 4 Psycho movies.
Yeah, we talked about this a couple weeks back.
Yeah. And they're all really good. The second one's actually my least favorite. The third one's okay. The fourth one is the best one. Other than the
Are
first
they all done by Hitchcock? It's just the
Oh,
first
no,
one?
just the first one.
Okay.
He was long gone when they made the second one, but Anthony Perkins is in all of them.
Okay.
But those are always good to watch.
Is Perkins' restaurant named after him?
Yes.
Yes. No, I don't know.
That's why when you go in there, like everybody's like dressed like their mother. It's really kind of
Norman. Norman.
A little bit psycho,
Yeah,
honestly.
Have you ever used the Perkins shower? Have you ever gone into
What?
Have you ever gone? Yeah.
At the truck stop.
That took me a second to try to
That was
figure
good, that
out.
was
I was like,
You go in there and it's just always going ree 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 ree.
You're like
Just
I-
on
just
loop.
like you're just lathering yourself up, right? And you just hear that noise just like over and over again. And you just feel uncomfortable. You're like, I'm clean, but am I?
their
Well,
their
the
pies
soap,
are
the
so
soap is
good.
red.
The soap is just red, and they have one of those things hanging that goes.
Anyways,
And of course, Nightmare Before Christmas is
that's a good
A
it's
favorite
so-
by
yeah.
many.
That begs the question:
Does it beg it?
Is it a Halloween film or a Christmas film?
I actually watch it between the two,
okay.
usually.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
It's a Halloween film.
but for me, it's more of a Halloween film. 'Cause
It's a Halloween film with a very significant Christmas cameo.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a Halloween
yeah,
film.
yeah,
Is there anything else?
yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yes. Well, now that we've done that, well, the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, obviously,
Obs.
Totes.
Hobbs.
Hashtag Totes Hobbs.
Because since I watch scary movies all year long, I usually have to watch Halloween themed movies around Halloween. So
I have one that is my second go-to that's not Halloween themed.
Yes.
It's The
Your
Village.
go-to too.
That one's a solid choice. But yeah, I understand the criticisms, and it's just.
If anybody but Shyamalan had done that movie, like, I don't think it would have.
But
had
it
this
was
many
like
criticisms.
coming right off of Sixth Sense and Signs. Well,
I
it was
think
right
it was
about the same.
after Signs.
Yeah, it was after Signs.
actually, which
So I
is
mean,
weird
like Signs
stylistically.
did
yeah.
still like pretty good, even though like people are hypercritical. I enjoyed Signs. I thought it was really
Signs
solid.
is my favorite M. Night movie.
You know, I haven't
Really?
seen
Yeah.
Signs.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
even Unbreakable. Unbreakable.
I didn't like Unbreakable.
What?
Whoa.
Sorry.
What? Have you seen Split?
No, I haven't seen that yet.
Nope. Mhm.
I'm not gonna talk about it.
That'll be the one you can make me watch if you lose, or if I lose.
Is it on Netflix?
Not
if it's
yet.
not, I can find
Yeah, see,
Maybe-
unfortunately,
maybe
my sister ruined The Village for me. I'm sure I would have enjoyed it a
Somebody
lot
ruined
more.
The Sixth Sense for me, so there you go.
That's what's cool about both of those movies, though, is that like you can watch them after the twists, and it's all already there. Like, it
there's-
just
yeah.
becomes a different movie that's just as compelling.
No, absolutely. But without that first experience of the
Sure.
twist, it kind of loses its grandeur.
So talking about M. Night Shyamalan, did you guys like Lady in the Water?
Oh yeah, that's
Nope.
that's probably my favorite Shyamalan movie.
Is that the Paul Giamatti?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. I was gonna watch it. Paul Giamatti was on Howard Stern. This was a couple months ago, like when it first came out, and I was like, "Oh, I have to watch that." And I literally haven't thought about it until you just said that.
Yeah.
It was visually, it was very good. I liked the visual style of it. I liked the idea of it. I liked the storybook aspects, the fantasy aspects mixed up with a little horror flavor. But the story itself would have been much more suited to a novel, like with more characters, or even
Or a mini series. Yeah, we had talked about this
okay.
before.
Because there's too many characters that when they do this whole twist where they're like, we need 7 people
But-
to
but
like
we
take
need-
her back, and they're like, oh shit, none of these 7 people are
The people who we thought. It's
so who's
just
left?
this-
Who could it be? I don't
other
know.
7
the other
people.
7 people in the movie. Like, it's really
that
that's my
was a
biggest
little on the
issue.
nose.
Yeah.
No, I love Paul Giamatti's acting in that though, especially. I think that was very.
He was a great, like, heroic character that wasn't like, you know, sexy hero of every action
Right,
movie or
right.
gritty movie ever. Like, I
I
appreciate
get tired of that, man.
Mm-hmm.
I like people that are average looking,
Which okay,
or less than
which
average
talks
looking.
about my go-to horror movie every single year. Ernest Scared Stupid.
Oh my God. Hey, Vern. Oh.
How do you kill the monster? M-I-K.
Miak.
Miak.
Miak. Hey, Vern, it's Miak. Could it be any freaking stupider?
love
That's why
that
it's called
film.
Scared Stupid.
I love that film so much.
Fair
But I watch
Nice
that.
go-to, though.
Yeah, I watch that, and I also watch every year. I watch it, not necessarily at Halloween time, but my go-to horror film is Requiem for a Dream.
Yes.
And I talk about this, but I watch it once a year.
Ass to ass. Ass to ass.
See, in any other situation, that's just like comedic, but like,
But that's actually
It's
one of
like
the most terrible parts of the movie.
yeah,
like,
it's so
for
horrifying
those
because
characters.
it's so ridiculous the situation that they're in.
mashed potato.
One of my flights this summer, potentially even the one that I got onto after we ran into each other in Virginia when I got onto the same plane you were getting off of, totally unplanned.
That's weird.
It was
but
weird.
Okay.
It was a little weird. Someone next to me on the plane was watching Requiem for a Dream on his iPad.
You
Could
start
you
like
tell-
leaning over.
Could you tell if it was the first time they had seen it?
He was pretty chill, so it
Okay.
didn't seem like it, which almost makes it worse because you're like, you know what you're watching, and you're just like, this will be fine on the plane.
Do you guys,
Whatever.
do you
This'll be
guys
cool.
ever watch people watching movies on planes, especially like television, where you know there's going to be nudity?
No.
This shit is
haven't.
hilarious. I
It's
highly recommend
Watching their reactions
they
when the
look
nudity
around?
happens.
Yeah, so like when something like comes on the screen, you just
Hide
put it away
it.
really quick. Oh shit, there was a boob. I'm sorry, everybody on this plane. There's a boob.
I was watching American Gods this summer, and come time for a plane flight, I was watching the finale episode, and I was like, "Wow, you know, I'm gonna watch this on the plane. I'm really excited to pass the time. I hope there's not like too much nudity in this episode." 5 minutes in, giant orgy sequence.
Hey Joel, I think you've got a 6 degrees of separation for us.
Yes, indeed. Also.
Oh boy.
So I'm going
Michael is so excited.
I'm very excited about this because it's a horror theme. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, so I'm not going to be much help.
No. It's okay. Okay. It starts and ends with horror. So what we're going to do?
Horror. Okay, so
Because
horror.
I'm
not,
thinking like
Yeah.
Moulin
Not the one
Rouge
syllable.
and
No. I'll give you. I'll give you.
Memoirs
a
of a
thing.
Geisha.
We're going to go from it to it. Okay.
Ooh.
So you need to get from Finn Wolfhard from the new It, who's also in Stranger Things, to Tim Curry.
I feel so close on this one already.
Yeah.
So for some reason, my brain was like, Tim Curry's gonna be one of them. Bing.
So
right.
it's it to it. Finn
So-
Wolfhard to Tim Curry.
So Joel, can you re-explain the rules for our new listeners?
Oh, yes. So the rules are that.
Do you want me to do it?
Yeah.
You must know you must know the name of the actor. You
That's
must
right.
know the name of the movie. They can be in television. Are we still doing television?
Yeah,
I
still doing
use
television.
So
this
you
week.
can use television, but they have to be in the same episode. So you can cheat a little bit and use an actor that's in the television show and jump to another episode, but the special guests have to be in the same episode. So we have added a few rules. No Saturday Night Live, no 30 Rock at this point, because those shows have everybody in those shows. Besides from that, I think we're going to cut this down to 4 minutes because I think we can get this pretty quickly.
The one I have is 6 degrees. Okay.
Okay.
If you can do it in 6, you win, obviously. If you can do it in less, do it in less.
Then you win better.
You win mo better. All right, so you got 4 minutes. I'm going to start a timer here. And we're going to be right back
Don't go away.
with a word. After a word from
With just one word. The word is
it.
pants.
Pantaloons.
Pantalones.
All right, guys, I'm starting a timer here.
All right. So
This hinges on one person.
Hey guys, this is your humble host Charles, just checking in to see how things are going. Hey, I know it's kind of a rough week. I hope you're doing okay. Let me know if you need anything. We're going to be doing a little bit at the end of the podcast talking about our short film Tick. We're going to go into spoilers, so I would recommend watching that before we talk about that, just so that you aren't spoiled for it if you haven't seen it. The information on that is in our description for this podcast. It's great. It's a little it's spooky, scary, so it fits the theme pretty well. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate having you listen to the podcast. If you're somebody who's been listening for a few weeks, awesome. Thank you so much. Let your friends know that you like the podcast. Grab their phone and subscribe for them. Tell them, hey, listen to these 4 dudes talk about stupid movie shit. We'd love to have more people listen to the podcast, and we'd love for you to help us out there. Information for any of our podcasts is in the description as well. And as always, guys, thank you so much for listening. This is your humble host, Charles. Just
Ever wonder what happened to the actor from the 80s movie that you love? What about the director of the 70s splatter film that turned your stomach? Or how about the model that starred in your favorite MTV video? I'd like to invite you to join me, Sean Riley, the host of Second Acts podcast, on the first of each month as we check in with some of the most memorable faces you've forgotten to see what's going on in the second acts of their lives. You can check out Second Acts podcast on your favorite podcast app as well as on YouTube. Also, be sure to check out our Facebook page for bonus content as well as ways to interact with the show. As Scott Fitzgerald once wrote, there are no second acts in American lives, but there are on Second Acts podcast. Here's to your second act.
We're back.
we lost. This is the first one we've lost in a while.
Yeah. That was
80s are tough, man. It's a tough time for me.
So what was your 6 and how did we shorten it?
I was trying to get 6 degrees. I always try to make it 6 degrees because they can usually be shorter. So I'll tell you what my original 6 were, and then I'll tell you how you shortened it because I'm a dingling. So Finn Wolfhard obviously is in Stranger Things with Winona Ryder, who's in Beetlejuice with Catherine O'Hara. That's her name.
Yeah.
CJ
you.
had the actress, but he couldn't think of her name. Catherine O'Hara was in Home Alone with John Candy, who was in Uncle Buck with Laurie Metcalf. Laurie Metcalf, my favorite actress in the entire universe, I swear to God. Who was in Roseanne with Martin Mull, who was in Clue with Tim Curry. But it
We
can
can
be
go
shortened
the
to Home Alone 2
to
because
Home Alone 2.
Tim Curry's in Home Alone 2. I didn't even
Yep.
think of that.
There you go.
So it actually would have only been 3 degrees. But you guys were so close.
Wow.
You had the actress, but you didn't have Home Alone 2.
Yeah, they were
But-
just like, that key actress I just didn't know.
But you were close too with because Captain Picard is in
Pagemaster?
Pagemaster. He's one of the voices. in the
Ah, so it was him.
If we did actually go with that, we could have gotten it.
book. Side trivia: there are 3 Star Trek actors in Pagemaster. Can you name them all?
No.
Anybody?
I'm saying George Takei.
No.
No. He just sounds like I'm a book. Hello.
If you
My name
open
is
me,
George Takei.
you can
and I'm a
read my
book.
pages.
Hello. Oh
No,
my.
it's
Oh my
it's
pages.
Patrick Stewart. It's
The poop emoji was in it.
it's Patrick Stewart. It's Whoopi Goldberg and
Oh, that's right.
Whoopi Goldberg
Leonard
was
Nimoy.
in a Star Trek.
Yeah, she was in
Yeah,
Next
she was in
Generation.
Next Generation.
She was
She
the
was the
bartender.
bartender.
Yeah.
And then Leonard Nimoy is
bar-
also a book in
wow.
Page Master.
I did not realize that. Which book is he?
I don't know.
The green one.
Wow,
The one with
Hey,
pages.
I bet he's Dr. Spock's Guide to Raising Children. Whatever that book is called.
Oh man.
So
That was
I
so
stumped you
close.
guys. You guys were so close. You actually did have it, but I couldn't help you.
What is our quote punishment unquote?
I would like you guys to watch. You can watch it too if you want, Carl.
He has to watch it. Legally binding. You have to watch this.
Yeah,
The one
our,
thing
our
is,
lawyers.
I don't
Talk
know
to
if
my
they're on
attorney.
Netflix. I'll have to look it up, but I do have them on DVD if you want to watch. I would like you guys to watch one of the Psycho series. Either 2, 3, or 4.
Which one? Like Psycho Killer Qu'est-ce que c'est?
No. Psycho, the series. No, he's making a joke.
No, he's. We just need a background person. Maybe if you turn my mic up more once in a while,
He'll do.
we'll just be like, no, he's making a joke. He's making a joke.
Thanks, Carl.
Okay.
It's a joke. It's cool. Don't take it seriously.
Yes.
Psycho. Which one? I think. Do you want us to watch that, or do you want us to watch Bates Motel and start that?
I'd rather you watch the films because Bates Motel you have to invest. That's an investment. And I don't even know if it's on Netflix or anything. I have them on Blu-rays, but I don't. That's an investment, dude. That's a long investment.
Is it good? Is it worth it?
I think so.
been on my
That was
Netflix
one of
queue
my
for a while.
favorite shows that's been on the past few years.
I watched the first few episodes and it was a little like.
The first season is the toughest to get through, and I think it's because you're going, where are they going with this? What's going on? And once you kind of get past, it's kind of like Riverdale, where I'm a huge fan of the Archie comic characters, and I'm going, okay, this is where they're taking this. But just, you can't be in the film watching Bates Motel. You have to, it's a different story. You know, it's the characters, not the story. But anyway, yeah, so you can watch 1, 2, 3, or 4, or all of them if you like.
Cool. Awesome.
That's my challenge for you.
Challenge.
How do you pronounce that word?
Challenge.
Challenge.
Did you ever see that Cosby Show?
Yeah, that was my
That's the
favorite
thing.
in the Cosby Show. The guy does a tap dancing off with Cosby, and he just like doesn't even try.
Cool. So, I think at this point we're gonna start jumping right into our. Because Carl's got to get going here pretty quick. We're gonna jump into our post-mortem. Oh fuck.
Really? Our post-mortem.
Post-mortem
Tick.
of Tick, our short film. I'm gonna kind of step aside as director and kind of just hear. First off, I want to hear from Joel, somebody who wasn't a part of the process, to talk about what he liked, what he didn't like, what he didn't understand, anything like that.
Well, first of all, I loved it. I thought it was great. The acting is great. I loved seeing people I know is always great, but everybody did such a good job. Everybody was believable, I thought. The story, at first you go, oh, this is what's going on. And then there's that twist, partway through, and you go, oh, maybe not. And I always love movies that can flop stuff without, I don't know. But anyway, and I wasn't expecting some of the special effects to show up at all. So it was kind of freaky and scary. Because, you're just watching this good film that, and I'm like, oh, and then you see these things happening. I don't want to give anything away for those who haven't watched it.
No, this is fine. We're going to talk spoilers. I'm going to add a bit at the beginning
okay.
saying, hey, we're talking spoilers of our short film.
But and like just the twisting faces and stuff, it just took me by surprise. So it not only was it done well, but it was done well as it was put into the film, because I didn't expect it, and it was much more shocking. The first one was Scotty from Far Away, and I almost went, what was that? It almost looked like I missaw it, like I saw it wrong.
Right.
And I went, did I just see that, or what was that? And then when you see it again, it's like, oh, something's really screwed up here. And so,
What lens did they shoot that on?
yeah, what are they doing?
something
Clean
is-
your lens.
Continuity, people. Come on.
I thought it was great. I thought Scotty did a really good job.
Scotty did a great job with that
Yeah,
character.
he was awesome.
In a lot of ways, he kind of became the main character, I think. I don't know if you ever intended that, but like he's the anchor through the whole story.
I feel like it was.
He's definitely the straight man in the story.
Well, he's the most conflicted too, because I mean, it's just like any. I'm rereading Harry Potter and also comparing it to Lord of the Rings. I mean, like Frodo and Harry Potter, they are incredibly important, but they're really not the active characters of the stories, and that's kind of what it became.
I thought it was kind of actually a tandem lead role between the two main characters.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like, well, I don't know, Frozen, I guess. But I did. I
Interesting
thought it was,
comparison.
I thought it was. I did. I thought it was a tandem lead role, and
That's the double feature DVD set that you can buy our short film and Frozen together.
Tick and Frozen. It's the B side. Frozen is the B side. But I thought they both did really well. They were very believable. There was still that touch of confusion at the end, and I'm going, what's going on? And then it all kind of comes together, and you figure it out. Which I also liked. I don't like a film ending and me going, what? What happened? What's going on? I like to know what happens.
What happened?
Well, here's what I was going to say.
I want to hear from somebody who wasn't attached to it. What happened in the end?
Well, here's what I was going to say before that is that when it's one thing to leave it to your imagination, like, you know, the Blair Witch Project is the first thing I think of because people were mad that they didn't see the Blair Witch. What happened? How did they die? But that's what makes it scarier is that it leaves it up to your own thing. With this film, I felt that I couldn't tell. Well, this is where I go, oh, I know what happened in my mind.
Right.
That they both had issues is what Jolene, Seth, and I all watched it, and that's kind of what we all concluded.
Yes.
But was one guy completely made up? Who knows? Was the girl completely made up? Kind of seems that way, but maybe, you know, it's a memory.
Okay.
We don't know. My conclusion was that they were both struggling with mental issues.
Yeah.
And you don't realize that until the very end. Or close to the end.
Yeah.
Very close to the end.
Okay. That's a.
Did he really get beat up? Or wait, he doesn't have a Band-Aid on his face anymore. So
That's interesting that it went that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never
That's-
thought about it with
that-
Brian not existing either, potentially.
Yeah.
well, that's what I was thinking. It's like maybe he doesn't exist. Maybe it's this girl's apartment
Right.
and not. you
That
know.
could be the case too.
And then I'm like, maybe the brothers made up.
I
don't know.
I like the whole I mean, I won't tell people what a story is. I mean, I think that's not what we're going to do here today. But that's not what was the original intention of the story. But if that's how it played, that's awesome. I'm so down.
Okay, good.
Like seriously, because that's so intriguing, and that's why I don't want to like say, oh, this is what I was trying to intend with this story, because that's a completely different interpretation of what I was trying to say, and that's awesome. That's
Well,
great.
with so many threads like that going through a short film, that's pretty intriguing that you can take it that many directions. And if you watch it a second time,
Which, yeah, I
you
want
could totally start to, oh, that detail's in there. That came up later. Oh, so what if it's more something like this? You know, like you can have that second viewing.
Yeah,
sort
and
of.
well, and I actually thought about watching it again before we turned the mics on, but then I was like, you know what? Maybe not. Maybe I'll just
I think that's
keep
great,
it
yeah.
organic and.
Watch it again if you feel the need. But I think this is great.
I'd love to have you talk to Seth about it too and see
Yeah.
what he thought. So anyway, and you'll have to tell me
Yeah.
what your story. You don't want to do it now, or
No, I'm not going to do it now.
Okay.
No.
That's great to hear, though. It's really neat to having been immersed in it for a year and a half now, to hear from someone who is just watching this for the very first time and their
Completely
interpretation
clueless.
of the finished product. It's really, really cool insight. So thank you.
Yeah.
Oh yes, you're welcome.
Well, especially as opposed to my viewpoint, which is the opposite, when the hardest part of this whole process has been watching this thing when you know everything about it.
Right.
Like, it's the hardest part is I think, like, I want to talk to directors in Hollywood and see if they have the same problem, because it's very hard for me to watch a scripted film that I've been a part of and not see what's around the shot in every shot. And that goes for like the planning of it, the scheduling of it, the scripting of it, like not just beyond the frame, but beyond the whole thing, you know, in that sense of just like, I know about every decision for the cuts.
You know what you need to see, and you know what you don't need to see.
I know about the lighting changes. I know about the location change. You know, like I know so much that it's hard to watch something without seeing that. But that said, like it's also, there's that bow you put on it. You know, you color grade it, you add in the score, you get the sound all nice.
The score and the color grading and the special effects pretty much changed the film altogether.
Mm-hmm.
Karl and I were working on the color correction, and we were trying to figure out how we kind of wanted to tell this story color-wise. And we played with like the ideas of the two different color corrections and stuff like that throughout the film, and it didn't really like hit until I was able to like color correct and then have like a half color correct, and then to the final one where it's like the really dark color correction. And when I did that, when I switched that up, it felt right, and I feel like that was where the story was trying to go. But when we were just doing it just the two opposite of each other, it just didn't feel right.
Mm-hmm. It had to blend back and forth.
Right.
And I actually I appreciated that too, because when it was flipping back and forth between, I guess I'll just say Band-Aid and no Band-Aid, I appreciated that because it was like, it was a clear choice, you know, and it helped.
Because that's the other problem.
You
watch an amateur film and you see continuity stuff like that or something along those lines.
Right.
And your first knee-jerk reaction is to like blame the filmmakers rather than consider it as part of a story.
Yeah.
So when you can wrap that stuff up, when you can do other stuff in there to emphasize the story, the audience is like, oh no, that's whatever little thing that they noticed. They're like,
and then that
supposed
covers
to
up
be.
the actual continuity errors that we had.
Yep.
Yes, there were quite a few. But it worked. It actually kind of worked with what we were doing.
CJ's hat was in some shots and not in others.
Yeah. Okay.
It's an operating hat.
Yeah,
It's just some
but
Harry
it was
Potter.
only in the shots that like the opposite shots, which was, it worked so well, and I'm so glad that continuity error actually worked. There was also the one with Scotty where he's yelling down that hallway, you know, at his brother, right? He's like, "Hey, Rick!" And then immediately the next shot, he's like his hands go here, and that's it.
But that wasn't.
I didn't catch it.
That was more of the schizophrenic side of it.
Once we edited that to be that way.
Yeah.
Once we changed it, but before the special effects were in it, before anything else, it was an obvious
Gotcha.
mistake there. There was one more that I was thinking of, but I want to give props to everybody who was in this production really quick before we move on to talking about the negative side of things. Jason Tyler Vaughn did the score for this.
My man, Jason.
Jason is incredible. The stuff that he created was fantastic. From the moment he started writing this, him and I were on the same page, and he knew what the story was. And I gave him so little direction, and what he came up with was perfect for what we needed.
I gotta say that the part of the score that I liked is when it first started, I wasn't sure if it was something in the room. Mm-hmm. Or if something was going wrong, not going wrong like with the film, but like if something in the room in the apartment was happening that wasn't supposed to happen, and it was like almost uncomfortable,
Right.
And that was good because it made it went and then it went on, and I figured out it was the music, but I liked being uncomfortable there because it added tension to the.
Next up is going to be Jessie Hitch, who did the special effects makeup, and
she's
all
sitting
makeup.
at the table.
And she's sitting at the table with her kid at the back with.
Was that Generations, by the way?
That was Generations
Okay,
bar. So that was Generations. Thank you, Jessie, for everything that you did. You made the short film. Thank you to Generations and Bindle for letting us film there. That's fantastic. Yeah. Andrew Webb.
I gotta tell you, we weren't expecting Bindle. So for those who don't know, Jolene her brother is Andrew, who's in the film. He's the barista, and we weren't expecting that at all. They drive up and we all went, "Oh, there's Spindle," and then we all went, "Oh, there's Andrew." So it was awesome.
So the barista in that, he didn't realize that he was in the short film. Apparently,
just forgot. Yeah.
Well, it also doesn't help that it was like over a year since we
He
filmed
had a
it.
line.
Yeah.
What can I get for you?
And he nailed it. I mean, I believed it.
So everybody, literally the actors, Scotty, Brian, Sarah, Ashley, Andrew, pretty much everybody who was in this, you guys are fantastic. Thank you so much. It was a giant learning experience for all of us. Thank you, Karl, for literally doing everything.
And Bruce.
And Bruce. And Dana.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Jesse's mom, right?
Jesse's mom and Bruce Dunn, who is fantastic, and I want to work with him on everything. He is, when just talking with him, I'm just like, this man should be doing everything right now.
Yeah, he was fabulous.
What didn't you like, Joel? What was your least favorite part of it? What was it like? Oh, that was weird.
God, I don't know. Okay, this is kind of weird because it's not really. Well, I'll just say it. Because there was Bindle and Generations and people I knew as extras in the background, that took me out of it a little bit.
Right.
But that's just me because I've been to all those places and stuff.
Right.
I don't want to say that I didn't like it, but that if I didn't know that stuff, or if I didn't know people in the acting in it, it would have been more I don't know. I would have been less distracted by that. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to say I don't like it, but I don't know what I didn't like. I didn't really not like very much of it. So I don't
necessarily not like it. That's 3. That means you fucking hate the short film.
So by the way, your film sucks.
Karl, what was
Gilmore.
what was the hardest part of doing this for you? Like, looking back, what was the thing that you're like, that's the most cringeworthy part of it, and what was the hardest aspect of filming for you?
Yeah, I think there's the two sides. There's the after it's all done side,
right,
where I just like it'll never feel finished, I guess, sort of thing.
That's kind of, yeah, we can talk about that in a second. That's why,
one of the harder parts, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But I think while shooting it during production side, it's just that just the restraints of an amateur film, like having to shoot in my apartment, and at like a super late hour, like that was just the hard, stressful part, was just like being hyper conscious of neighbors and just like my stuff, and like it's just the nature of the beast. You gotta shoot where you can shoot,
right.
And we had the best space and place to work there at mine, which is funny because it also takes me out of it too. It's hard for me to watch it and not just be like, "It's my place.
That's Karl's poster.
My God, we kept that poster," and then I don't know, it's so me, but like, it's again, I think it all just comes back to like that was some practical stuff that has to happen, and then the rest is just not being able to separate, like give myself amnesia to just like watch it like it's the first time.
Right. I think the other filming aspect that's really kind of hard for me, like it was really hard for us when we got into color correction, was the fact that and this is super technical, but that we filmed it so warm, and that when we did color correction, or when we did white balance at the beginning, it was super, super warm, so it was hard to color correct the skin tones off of the wall because they were very similar. So next one we'll just, I think, hopefully have a little bit more time to focus on that kind of stuff. Maybe take a couple days to do that. And I mean, that's all on me. I could have jumped in and be like, "Oh, we're just going to throw in some
It's our
lights."
first short film. There's all sorts
Yeah,
of
and
technical
it's
stuff.
it's a lot of one of those things that knowing your cameras and knowing what they're going to be able to produce and what your eyes see are two completely different things.
Always.
So, and I mean, we were still, I would say, more so early on with the Blackmagic cameras. I mean, we had both of them, but it's a little, we were still fiddling with them.
And certainly audio equipment wise, we did not have what we have now.
No, not at all.
We were renting some stuff because we had just started with helping UNC with their acting for film classes, which is actually how we discovered Ashley.
Right.
Anyways, when we didn't actually own that stuff, we had to make do with what we had, and there were some drawbacks to that I I know, hear, not see, but
Right.
because I'm the audio person, I bumped it again.
Speaking of the audio person.
Oh, no.
that was terrible.
Ew.
There goes your mic.
I went for the joke, and I.
All right, hang on.
So, Michael, what was the thing that you learned, and what was the most cringeworthy part of the short film for you?
I learned, first of all, how much I enjoy sound effects, especially Foley sound effects. That was such a blast. To like set up a mic in my driveway and walk and run and do all these different things, and just to try to match it up with what was happening.
I've always wanted to do that too.
It's
I like
a
to
blast.
watch people do it,
Yeah.
like with balloons and leaves and feathers. And
I
And
think
that
there's a viral video on Facebook of that for a little while. It's just like, God, that's cool.
Absolutely, yeah, and there are professionals who do that. And I when I was researching different ways to do that, I came across some YouTube videos, and one of them was, I think they were working on the Justice League movie that's coming out soon, and it showed this guy with a big piece of cloth, like watching a big screen already shot video of Superman walking, and he's like shaking this piece of cloth in time with the cape,
that's so cool.
Oh, man.
yeah, it's such a fascinating process, and how freaking creative they get. And the professionals, they have this huge warehouse with all different like squares of different types of flooring, and they have a whole bunch of different shoes, and they just like they're fully equipped, and then we had a punch scene, and so learning about like which vegetables and things are the correct ones to use for, this is kind of the sound of a breaking nose, this is really, really fun. So
Would you use celery?
mostly cabbage, yeah. But yeah, that was a blast.
We should have like a video on YouTube called "Man Punches Cabbage."
Yes,
Probably already up.
So, anyways, what was your least favorite part of the whole process?
I think and granted, this is because it was a first time for us.
Right.
I think there was a certain lack of communication and of organization, which, I tried, but not being the director. So what I had to do was I had to just basically learn my place. I was there for sound and sound only, and there were certain things that I was like, well, I would have done this differently, but I'm not the director, so I'm just gonna sit back and let it happen.
Okay.
I've struggled with that with theater too.
Yeah.
Once you've directed a show or once you've done anything, you want to
I
offer
think-
your
I think-
2 cents,
right.
but you're not always. You
It's not.
shouldn't do
It's
that.
It's not necessarily your place to do so, and it's always when I'm like, oh, I want to say a thing.
Right. You
But
just gotta
do
bite your
just-
tongue
yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if it
So I
plays, you know
understand
what?
that.
And that's the thing. It's like, hey, if it turns out really well, awesome. But it's
and I've dealt with, as a director and as an actor, like several actors who try to direct, and they approach it in different ways. I've had an actor come up to me and said, "Hey, so I know that you're the director, and so you can completely shut this down if you want, but I had a suggestion." And he brings it. I was like, "That was great. Thanks so much, dude. Like, that's wonderful, and thank you for presenting it in such a respectful way."
Or sometimes you go, "That is a bad idea. Get on stage."
exactly. So it's a little bit of each.
What is wrong with you?
So yeah, what I learned from my recent time as a director for a stage show was the importance of writing everything down, and even more so when it comes to film, because you have so many these days. It's not actual film, in case anyone was still under that illusion that we were shooting this on regular film stock. No, we everything is very digital, including the sound, and the sound is separate. And so we, in the end, we ended up misplacing some sound files and had to make do, and it turned out okay. Not as great as it could have been.
Right.
I would have preferred if the ADR were recorded with the same mic that we recorded everything else with, because there was a change in
in the
vocal
pitch
quality that was very, very hard to disguise.
Right.
Um,
And you can tell in like some of the okays and like the dialogue and stuff like that. It's definitely like a different room where it was recorded.
Right, I was going to say, and are you dubbing, like, do people have to come in after all the filming and come in and say okay, like you did in this scene, that kind of thing, where it's literally they're dubbing.
So, and I 100% agree with that. I think organization was where this short film kind of lacked. I think, like, I underestimated how much energy that I needed to push towards, focusing on the actors and focusing on that side of things. And I wasn't able to really focus in on the paperwork. So having an additional person to be there being like, hey, this take goes with this audio track, and then having that written down on a piece of paper so we could look back on it and say, hey, we know what track goes to what, and not spend hours and hours and hours trying to find the right audio again.
And I've been on both sides of that. So I volunteered to help out on a film shoot. It was a few years ago, but it was at PostNet in Denver, and it was an interview with the CEO and some other people, and it was basically an instructional video about people wanting to own a franchise. I came there, I helped carry equipment in and help set it up. But after that, literally my only job was to write down every take what the audio files were titled. And that was my only job, was so that they could sync those audio files up later very quickly. And it was a much simpler film project than what we put together. And so I think that concept, yes, and there needs to be a person dedicated to that. And as
It might sound like a boring job, but it's super important.
it is, it is so very important. And as a director, I had my assistant director / stage manager, Veronica, who is amazing. And I was in that same boat. I was like, well, no, I need to focus on the actors, and I need to focus on the big picture of things. And so many times it's like, Veronica, are you writing that down? You write that down? Okay. Awesome. And then I don't even have to think about it until the time comes when I can be like, hey, Veronica, can you recall that thing that you wrote down?
Right.
And that's very, very important. So that's the one thing that I think could have made the process a lot easier, a lot quicker.
And, like for our next one, it's going, like the next short film that we do, the process is going to be night and day easier. It's going, I mean, there's still going to be a lot of work that goes behind it to even make it even better than what it was. Now that we have this behind us, a solid short film. I wouldn't say it's like great. I wouldn't say it's good. It's a good first short film for Something Random. I think that the next one that we have an idea for is pretty fantastic, and I can't wait for that one.
And it's a single location, very script driven, and not a whole lot of extra
and I mean,
locations to find.
like trying to do a short film with like the logistics of finding multiple restaurants and multiple houses that you need to film at was difficult in itself.
And streets.
And streets, and like doing all this stuff. And like there's the scene where Scotty and Brian are chasing each other around. Those streets don't match up. Right. And I don't know if you guys
They're going back and forth between Loveland and Fort Collins.
Yeah, I was going. Jillian was going, are they back in Loveland now? I'm like, that's not part of the movie.
Right.
They turned a corner at Ames Community College and ended up at Bindle.
Yeah. But I mean, like, it was like trying to map out how that looked. I had to like draw out a map, and then trying to explain to Michael, and everybody else, they're like, well, we're going to go around this corner, but they're going to end up on this, street over here, was like hard to like process mentally, when I was trying to explain it at first.
Sure.
But it was like, in the end, it looks good, and it makes sense on visually. But I mean, like, if people are in Loveland and Fort Collins, they're like, wait a second, Cactus Drill is not near Bindle.
Right, and that's one of those things where it's like, if you know this stuff, you just have to take yourself out of it.
Right.
If you know that this area or the people or anything like that, you just have to put that away while you're watching this, because it'll take you out of it. So
yeah, and that's the tough part about doing it locally, but
that's gonna happen with any, if you're near a film and it's filmed anywhere specific, if you know the area, you're gonna go, that doesn't make sense. That's just how your brain works.
People do that in feature films too. It's like, I mean, it's not something new. So
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I was saying earlier, one of our main clients that has been a great experience with putting together shorts. One of the main challenges there is that we have one location, and we essentially have to make 8 scenes look like they're all in different places. And it's a huge opportunity to get creative and to really see it with a different eye and to say, oh wow, well, this. So if we move this over here, then it looks like a restaurant, or
yeah.
you know.
Right. The other thing that was really difficult for me was and something that I want to spend more time if I do something with special effects like that. And you can tell if you really watch it, the special effects are not as good as they could have been. And that's because I didn't plan those ahead of time. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to do those in post. When not realizing that it's hard to track specific things if it's a dark room where I could have just placed a bit of tape on the wall.
Okay.
I hit it pretty well, but when he's going into the room and there's like the writing on the wall and stuff like that, you can see the writing on the wall move a little bit out of place. It just slights. But I mean, if you're really watching it, you'll be like, nah, that's shit. That looks like poop.
I actually thought the special effects were really cool.
Yeah.
But I wasn't expecting them. So hey, but I just thought they were cool. I liked them. Yeah.
I think that's it, guys. Is there anything else that we want to mention?
No, that's good.
Awesome. Carl, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, of course. Thanks.
Dude, seriously, come on anytime.
It's
If you
been
guys-
fun.
Yeah, if you want to just hang out and just talk with us.
If you're in town.
if your lawyers
swing on
allow
by.
it.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, it does stipulate in our contract that you are legally allowed to come on literally whenever you want, so you can show up halfway through a
We
podcast.
just can't say your name.
And Tom
when you're
Hanks
not on
can't
it.
be here. when
And the
you're here.
mic volume is up to Michael.
Right.
So, dude, thank you so much. And thank you for listening to the podcast. And as always, my name is Charles.
And I'm Michael.
This is Joel.
And I'm Karl.
And have yourselves a wonderful week.